the ball. That's a good try. What a goal! Oh, what a goal for the side in Surrey! Oh, Mick Walsh! What a superb goal!
Hi everyone, John here. GTF's on the chat, so go and say hello. Just messing on my soundboard there. It's Monday the 6th of April 2020. In today's show, I speak to a man who's played and scored in each of the top 5 divisions in English football. He scored Blackpool's first and last goals in our Premier League season. He bagged a 500,000th goal in the Football League, and most importantly, he set the new hot trend for double-barrelled surnames in professional football. It's an interview with Seaside legend Gary Taylor-Fletcher. Hello, Seasiders, everybody. Welcome back to the Seasiders podcast. I'm sat here virtually with a living legend of Blackpool Football Club, the one and only Mr. Gary Taylor-Fletcher, a.k.a. GTF, a.k.a. Fletch. Thanks for coming on, Gary. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, no problem. Obviously, circumstances couldn't be in the same place together, but virtual, it'll do.
We have been mooting to do this interview for quite some time, haven't we? I was actually going to do it in the club, when you were the club ambassador. I was going to grab you then and do it live, but this is the next best thing. Yeah. So
as you say, passes the time on lockdown.
He's only doing this because he's got absolutely nothing better to do. So the coronavirus does have its small mercy, so I can do these interviews now. So yeah, as I said in the interview, guys, you're one of the forefathers of the double-barrelled surname. Everyone's at it these days, aren't they? So,
yeah, there wasn't that many back then.
How did yours come about?
Well, obviously proposed to me wife Viv. She had the name Taylor. I was Fletcher, and she's the last in the line. And she's like, I don't want to lose my name. So I didn't want the children to be known, as either Taylor or Fletcher, and not have the same surname as the parents or one of the parents. So we just put our heads together and we'll start a new one. We go Taylor Fletcher, so you keep yours, we keep mine, and go together. But I remember we were at Lincoln, and
I bet you got the piss taken out of you, didn't you?
Well, no, it wasn't those. That was the fans. The fans were fuming because obviously I was the main player at the time, and they were all like, "Oh, I bet you these on royalties for the surname on the letters on the kits and stuff and things like that." And we got all sorts of things like that. But yeah, no, that was the reason. Obviously, it was Gary Fletcher, but I think GTF and Taylor Fletcher sounds about right, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a good brand. Yeah. If you were on The Apprentice, they'd more than be happy with that, I think. But yeah. As I was saying to you sort of offline before, it's your name kind of stuck out on like Soccer Saturday whenever you were banging goals in at Huddersfield and Lincoln. It's quite a memorable name, so maybe it's done you a favour. It's progressed your career slightly.
Yeah, as you say, the double-barrel names, the longer on Sky Sports, and they seem to stick in people's minds. So yeah, no, it's done well.
It's not as unique anymore, is it? They're all at it, aren't they? Kieran, KDH. We've got KDH at Blackpool. Kieran Dewsbury Hall. Have you seen his goals?
Yeah, well, I've known Bolton from Leicester, and I know at Leicester they call him Scholesy. I've watched him a few times from the 23s and stuff, and yeah, he's a great player, and what a signing, he's unbelievable.
Scholesy in relation to his ability or the way he looked?
I think of everything. I think a bit of everything. I'm good mates with the under 23 manager, and he rates him very, very highly.
Oh, right. So, can you have a word with him to maybe stay another season?
Extend it, yeah, stay another season. Well, I know he will be trying to probably look to get him out on loan somewhere playing again. So, as long as he's playing, and I think obviously with Critch coming in the way he's helped under 23 players at Liverpool develop and stuff, I think he'll be a good fit again.
Yeah, I think we did allude to that in the last pod that having Critch in may make more players want to come to Blackpool to play the kind of the Liverpool way. Just you've reminded me now. What's your views on the Liverpool situation, which is obviously unfolded today about the furloughing of the non-playing staff? It was a bit of a shock.
Yeah, it's a shock, and then have they announced that it's just flipped up that they've announced that they're not going to do it now?
That's right, yeah.
They've apologised and stuff like that, so it's a business thing, isn't it, for football? Foreign owners, American owners now. I think what someone put the furlong over in America, that just means that the staff are put on leave but still get paid. It doesn't anything about the government or anything paying wages or something. It's like the thing of how they say you're on garden leave for a little bit, sort of thing. So whether they've got mixed up in that, I don't know, but I'm sure they probably would have been advised beforehand.
To be fair to them, they've obviously reversed the decision, and then they did the same with do you remember when they tried to trademark the brand tickets. Liverpool?
Oh, the brand, yeah.
And everyone kicked off about that, didn't they? And they reversed it. So, at least they listened.
They do listen. Yeah, they do listen. Yeah. Yeah, so that's obviously a good thing. And, me being a big Liverpool fan, hopefully when the season does kickstart again, it won't be that long before they are lifting the trophy.
Yeah. Obviously, you scored at Liverpool, didn't you? We're going to do the full interview shortly. So, what was it like when you scored at Liverpool? I'm presuming you had a lot of family there as well. Was it
Yeah, well, it was at Bloomfield Road when I scored.
It was? Oh, yeah. Sorry,
Liverpool, I set up Varnes' goal, Luke Varne.
That little flip. You flipped it in.
Little chip. Yeah. But now scored, obviously, at the Blackpool game. But just that week was just a surreal week because obviously one of my close friends at Lincoln, Richard Butcher, he passed away sort of, I think it was the Friday or the Saturday before. Massive Everton fan. And he was one of the ones at Lincoln who I kept in touch with, and we were always having banter about Liverpool, and he passed away. And I remember that day, I knew I was going to score.
Did you?
And I knew, just knew I was going to score. And even I think it was in the morning, I was like, I need to do something. So as soon as I got to the ground, I grabbed just a plain white shirt and wrote a little message for him.
I remember that.
Gave it to the kit man Wilesy and said, listen, when I score, I said, be ready with this. And he was like, what? I said, listen, I'm going to score. Have it close to hand. I literally, when I scored, ran straight over and he was there with it. He said, as soon as you said that, I think he even sent some of his family to put some money on it because he believed he believed that I was going to score, obviously because of everything and that. So yeah.
Wow, that's the power of self-belief, like in action, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the power of self-belief. But one of the things that we had, I think, in the lounge thing, we had a table of 14 with all my family and all that and stuff. And remember after the game, obviously walked into the missus' face, Viv's face, and she made up and all that and stuff. And I just remember getting to the table and one of my friends was stood away. And he said, remember 5 years ago, he said, I said, I wouldn't speak to him if she scored. And I really shut me hand and said, right, I'm not speaking now. And he didn't for about 2 weeks.
Seriously?
He wouldn't answer me calls. Yeah, wouldn't answer me calls or anything.
Of course, we did the double over them as well, so...
Yeah. It obviously is not the Liverpool of now, but we still sort of 6 points on Liverpool in the Premier League, and there's not many teams who get to do that. So
it was a surreal moment for us Blackpool fans, particularly when we were 2-0 up at Anfield. Because when I was growing up, Liverpool were I'm a bit older than you, so they dominated football, and you never won at Anfield. Never mind being 2-0 up. So to go there as a Blackpool fan, I was under the stands at half time. Said to Matt, I said, is this actually happening? Is this real?
Yeah, I think as well, though, you're saying being too much, but we absolutely battered them, and we deserved to be even probably, a few more up. That first half, I remember that my mate who obviously wouldn't speak to me. I remember after the game he said, I've never seen a team come and dominate at Anfield like you did. He said we couldn't get near us, we were all over the place. He said, and he said, fair play to you, you dug in and you hung on in the end. We were on top for the last whatever, but he said even, for 60 minutes, you were battering us and really on top and deserved the 3 points. And I remember after the game, I think the last five minutes, I think I had the worst cramp ever. I remember I was like a madman that day. I remember the last probably 5 minutes, I just couldn't run. I remember Ollie put me up front just because you needed people who could run on the wings and stuff. And
pure adrenaline got you through.
Yeah, got through to the final whistle after the game. We were celebrating with obviously all the Blackpool fans and that, and then turned around and you're walking off the pitch and there was all the Liverpool fans had stayed and to clap us off the pitch because
I remember that.
They realised, well, that you've come and you've been a better team and deserve to win. And it was that was a surreal thing as well.
Yeah, quality. Right, so this interview, listeners, it's actually we're going to go through Gary's history and we're going to lead up to the Premier League. So we're probably going to do 2 parts. So there's quite a bit to get through in this interview. So we're going to do the Premier League.
I've got all night.
In fact, so have I. So put a coffee on and we'll do a 3 hours. Well, I've actually not written any notes for the Premier League, so we'll have to do it in 2 days. But right, let's get cracking then. So tell us how about you made it into professional football, and did you always want to be a footballer?
Yeah, well, it was obviously a bit of a different journey to the norm. I was at Liverpool from when I was 11 to 15. Probably 13 and 14, I had a few health issues where just used to have fits, wasn't epileptic or anything. It just used to wake up. And he said when my brain switched on waking up, it just sent me into a fit. So I had to miss quite a bit of training. I remember towards the end when I was under 15s, we were playing Everton, the under 15s. And I hadn't trained that much. And the under 16s were playing Benfica, and they didn't have enough players. So they were like, well, listen, we want to put all our strongest ones who've been training and all that against Everton, because you can go and play with the under 16s. And it was me and actual David Thompson. When I look around, thinking back now, when it was Michael Owen, Stephen Gerrard. I was playing up front with Michael Owen, and I think we won. It was something like 8-0. I scored 3, he scored 3. And not long after, I got released and stuff. But then when you look back at the year that I was at Liverpool, there was only me and David Thompson who actually went on to play in the Premier League or to have a sort of full-on high-end career. There's a lot of players who played sort of lower level or non-league, but there wasn't that many who had the prolonged career that we did. And we were the 2 ones who we were told, you go and play with the old ones. We're going to put our strongest team on against Everton. So
right,
it was a bit surreal.
So this medical condition you had, was that resolved or was that?
It was just basically they put me on some tablets which badly I used to have to take one every night, and it helped you sleep. And I was on them till I was 18, 19. I couldn't take my driving test or couldn't drive till I was 19. Because you had to have, I think it was 3 years of non-fit, non-seizures to be able to do your driving license. I think I had the last one at 15. And then that was it. It was like, right, okay, got released by Liverpool. And I was just happy playing with my friends, just playing on a Saturday and Sunday, just playing grassroots football. Right. And it was only towards the end of sort of when I was leaving school that I wrote round to quite a few clubs asking for trials and stuff. And it was only Burnley who got back to me. Went to Burnley and playing a game, and I was thinking, oh, yeah, he's a big lad. He's just a big lads, and I was doing quite well and scored a few goals.
Was this in a trial?
It was about 3 or 4 training nights.
Yeah.
So they were like that, and then after the 4th night, they were like, right, okay, we don't think, we can see you've got talent, but we're not going to offer you a pro contract. And I was like, what do you mean a pro contract? They're like, well, looking at your details and stuff, we can't offer you. I was like, I'm only 15. They're like, what? It's like, I'm 15. They're like, been training with our under 18s. I was like, right, okay. So I played 3 games for the under 16s, scored, I think it was 10 goals. But they'd already given all the YTs out and didn't have any left at that time. Right. So obviously that didn't happen. I remember Adrian Heath was the coach, and he was like, well, give him a 1-year pro, or do something. What he's done, he's better than what we've got here. But we've used all our YTs, we've got no funding. What can we do? The first team at that time, I can't remember what division you were in, but they were like, well, no, he's not going to come and get on a pro contract or anything. The money's a lot more than what a YT would be, so we wouldn't do it. And I think at that time I just thought it's just not meant to be.
Right.
And so not that I'd given up, but I thought, I'll just go to college and then just try and go around the non-leagues. And it was only when I was at college that I kicked on. I was playing for the county. I was captain of Cheshire at 16. As soon as I got in, he made me captain. And they had the England schools. At the end of that first year, they had the England school trials. And I went to the trial, got literally told the trial day, listen, you're going to be in the squad. They hadn't announced it. There was a lot more trials and final trials, but I was told there and then by the manager I was going to be in the squad. He said, but you've got to go and play at a better standard. Because I was just playing literally local pub football, just a social club. I was 16 playing with 25, 30-year-olds, but it was probably one of the best things for me because the physical side of it and stuff, playing against the men, really, really brought me on. So I'd had a year of playing against men, and then went to college, obviously in England schools. And it was just one day I was saying to my mate who played for the college with me, I was like, is it Northwich? He was like, yeah. I said, what? He said, just at the youth. We're just at the Northwich youth team. Then I was like, right, well, listen, I need to play at a better level. You've been asking me for ages to come down and play. I said, just speak to your manager and see if I can, come down and have a trial or something. So he's like, well, we're training tonight, just come. So I went to the training on the Thursday for the youth team. We had a game on the Sunday, so I played in that game. I think I scored 6. And then he was like, right, come train on the Tuesday and the Thursday, come to training. And then on the Sunday we had a game again. I think I scored 5. And after the game, I just remember the manager saying, oh, listen, you need to come over here. I was like, we need to discuss next week, training and stuff. I was like, right, okay. So walked over and the first team manager was there and was like, oh, right, you're right, yeah. He said, listen, you're not training on Tuesday. So we've got a match for the first team. So I'm signing you for the first team and you're going to be on the bench for the first team. We're like, oh, right, okay. Turned up to the game. The striker who was meant to be starting was ill or was late from work or something. Obviously, he was conference and stuff. And I ended up starting the game. And so from just going on trial to 2 games later, starting for the first team in a conference, luckily I'd played against all the men, all the older ones, and knew how physical it was going to be. And just really kicked on from there. I think there was only about 3 games left of that season, but I think I played in all 3 of the games. And it really gave me a little bit of a grounding and sort of belief that, well, do you know what? I've shown that I can do well and that I deserve to be at this level. So, let's have a good pre-season and kick on from there. And the end of the season, the manager got sacked, but Keith Alexander come in, and he was probably the breath of fresh air that I needed, because as soon as he seen me in training, he was like, I'm going to get you a move, I'm going to get you into the league. He had so much belief in me from when I was at Northwich and when I was at Lincoln, and he's probably one of the main reasons why I've got the career that I've got today.
Right, so Northwich Victoria, they were in the just below the football league, the conference, right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, conference, yeah. Back then it was the Vauxhall conference.
So you just rocked up, played a couple of training games, scored 11 in 2, and that was it. You were in. You got a contract.
Yeah, I was on the first team, playing for the first team. We'd done the pre-season, and I think before Christmas I'd scored something like 12 goals in 18 games. And we had a good cup run. I scored against Bury in the cup, and then I scored 2 against Leyton Orient in the cup in the first leg.
How old were you at the time?
I was 17.
17?
I was 17 or 18, yeah. So I scored 2 in that, but I'd always struggled with tendinitis in my knees. And obviously back then it was the old proper sand Astros, training on them for Northwich. I was in college doing all PE on the Astro turfs and all that. And I remember just before Christmas, I was really, really struggling. We had Leyton Orient in the second game, and there was a lot of teams watching me, the likes of Everton, Aston Villa. Very, very, being a Liverpool fan, and very, very close to signing at Everton at that time, around about the time. But I remember just going into the second game, the second leg, and I was just like, my knee doesn't feel right. I remember after about, I think it was just before the final whistle, I've just gone into the header, and as I've landed, my whole knees just give away. And they said what had happened was me patella tendon in my knee had eaten away that much that it was just weak, and it could sort of snap any time. So he said you've got to have sort of 3 months complete rest. Other than that, if that doesn't work, you're going to have to take the Achilles tendon and put it into my knee.
Jesus.
So it was a big thing, and I remember like thinking, oh, bloody hell, these teams wanted to sign me in January. What's going to happen here? So the good thing with Northwich and Keithers, they looked after me. They paid all. Obviously, back then it was not they didn't have medical insurance or anything, but they paid all the medical bills and used to go and see the crew physio every 2 nights to get treatment on my knee. And for me, it was a bit of a difference because obviously I've been playing every game. It was probably the first time that I'd had a proper injury at 17, 18 out for 3 months. And I come back. It was about a week before the transfer deadline in March. And I'd only trained the Tuesday, trained the Thursday. And I remember after training on the Thursday, like, oh, we've had an offering for you. I was like, all right, yeah, Hull want to take you on loan to the end of the season. I was like, well, I've not played a game yet. I said, I've trained 2 days. What should I do? He said, well, listen, they've offered us 25 grand to take me on loan to the end of the season. He said, we need the money, so you're going to have to go.
Yeah.
So
is this while you're recovering as well?
Yeah. So I'd only trained 2 days, but went to Hull.
You obviously made an impression, didn't you? You obviously made an impression for Hull to put that kind of faith in you.
Yeah.
What division were they in at the time then, Hull?
They were in League 2. So it was the year, I don't know if Blackpool beat them no, Hull got beat by Leyton Orient. Yeah, did Blackpool beat Leyton Orient in the final?
We did, yeah.
2001.
We did, yeah. Yeah, the Millennium Stadium.
Yeah. Because I was at Hull, and then I was meant to sign for Hull in the summer, but they in the end took Gary Alexander, who was meant to be going to Leyton Orient, and I ended up signing for Leyton Orient. So that was my sort of route into professional football through colleges, through England schools, through the conference, and then, as I say, had a little bit at Hull, but it was in the summer that Leyton Orient actually bought me. I think I was 19, just turned 19. It was my 19th birthday. I signed for Leyton Orient.
So it's obviously a big move for you going down to London in the south. You were reasonably young at the time, so was there any trepidation in going down to the smoke? I would pause.
Yeah, it did pause a little bit.
Was it you thinking?
Yeah. Well, at that time, obviously, I was just living at home with my dad. 19 years old, didn't have a clue about obviously bills and everything. I was just, going to college, living with my dad, and obviously got the call to move down to London, and was in a steady relationship with obviously Viv, and I was like, I'm moving to London. Will you come with me? And she's come with me. She's been a rock and followed me around everywhere. And it was at that time we moved down there, and we were like she's a year younger, so she was only 18 or 19, and 2 people leaving home, moving down to London was a big thing at the time. I remember I had to ring him up to ask how to get a mortgage, how to get a mortgage, how to do this, and it was a big thing. But support I had from Viv, we had from our families and stuff.
Yeah, so Leyton Orient, you scored 21 and you scored 2 goals in 21 games, and then you were shipped out off on loan to Grays, Dagenham, and Dagenham again. I can see there. So what happened there?
Yeah, it was a funny time because obviously they paid, it was £100,000 to sign me.
Was that Barry
big
Hearn?
money for big money for a League Two club at the time.
Did you meet Barry Hearn?
Yeah.
What was he like?
To be fair, Barry was really good. He was quite hands-on at that time. Went down there, was signed by Tommy Taylor. Had a really good pre-season, and then for some reason, 2 months into the season, they decided to let Tommy go. We weren't doing too bad, I don't think. I think we were sort of mid-table, but I think after the year before, getting beaten in the playoffs and stuff, I think we wanted to be up there challenging. After 2 months, Tommy got sacked, and they appointed, his name was Paul Brush, who was the under-18s coach. He was the under-18s manager, and I remember his first days sort of pulled me in, and he'd always been a little bit off with me from seeing him around the training ground and stuff. And I remember him saying to me, I don't know why we've paid £100,000 for you. He said, my under-18s players are better than you.
What?
His words to me were, you will not play for this club while I'm here. So I was like, well, that's a big statement considering I've got 3 years on my contract and you just paid all that money for me. So.
What was his beef? Was he just? Did he want his own players? Did he? Did he want his?
Yeah, because he was sort of the youth team manager, and he didn't know why the club had spent £100,000 on an 18, 19-year-old player when he was bringing players through. And to be fair, some of the players that were in the younger ones at that time, you had Adam McLean, who went on to Hull, who was a really good player. Jabba Weebray had a really good career, but the one thing with them at that time was they hadn't had their first team experience. I remember in training, he used to ask me to demonstrate things to them and question, like, why can you do this and they can't? And I was like, well, I've been kicked up in the air. I've had 25, 30-year-old men go down the back of my legs with studs because they can't get near me. I said, I know how to use my body and play men's football. I said, these haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
So you're saying this, that they're better than me. Yeah, they might be better than me, but at the moment,
I'm more of a complete footballer.
I'm more of I've got more of experience and how to do it. And he just couldn't fathom and couldn't grasp the fact what I was saying. And he had a little bit of a turbulent 2 years. And then it was only the end of the start of the third year. I remember during pre-season, I was absolutely flying. And I think I'd scored something like 10 goals in the 8 friendlies or something, playing right wing. And they'd signed Gary Alexander in the summer, but he'd been injured all pre-season, hadn't trained or anything. And I remember on the Tuesday we were doing shape, and I was in the starting team for the first game of the season. And on the Friday, he was coming to name the team, and I was on the bench, and Gary Alexander was starting. And I was like, so I went in and seen him, and he's like, I said, I know he's not trained all year, but we brought him in. He's going to be our number one. So, you've done brilliantly, and I've been telling you you're going to be a big player this year, and I still believe it. But for this game, I'm going with him. And I was just like, I was gobsmacked. I was like, the pre-season I've had, scored all these goals. We've had a little chat, sorted our differences, and now you're doing this. You've been telling me I'm going to start, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that.
Do you think the writing was on the wall then?
Well, I don't know. I think he had changed, but I think I just had my defences up, and at that time I just wanted to make sure I was playing. So I think I come on as sub in the game on the Saturday, and then after the game I was upstairs in the lounge, and Barry was there. He was always in there, and I remember just going up to him and saying, "Listen, I want to leave. I want to go." Obviously, with Paul in charge, if I have another year like I have done the last 2 years, I'm coming to the end of my contract. I need to be playing. So he was like, well, you're going to have to speak to Paul. And went in and spoke to Paul on the Monday. And he said, well, if you can find someone who wants you, then yeah, you can go. And the good thing was on the Sunday night, I'd been speaking to one of my old Norfolk's teammates who'd signed for Lincoln at the time under Keith Alexander, Mark Bailey, and he'd rang me on the Sunday saying, listen, what's happening? He said, we're desperate for another striker, and I know the gaffer's been trying to get you for the last year, but he's not had any joy. And I was like, listen, tell him to ring up and put an offer in. He was like, oh, we've got no money. I said, well, just tell him to ring up and say you want me, and then I'll sort the rest out. And on the Monday night, I got a phone call from Barry saying, we've had an offer from Lincoln, they won't pay anything for you. What do you want to do? So I want to go and speak to them. So on a Tuesday, me and my wife drove up to Lincoln. I think he had a game the Tuesday night, and on a Wednesday we went and met Keith, and everything was all sort of virtually sorted straight away. And he said the one thing, he said, listen, you do what you've done for Northwich for me. He said, you'll play every game, and he said, I'll help you get the career that you deserve. And I think just going back there, going to Lincoln, but under the manager who I knew I'd had success with and believed in me that much, was, I think, the kickstart that I needed for my career.
So it's obviously belief from the managers, obviously does wonders from what you're saying there. Obviously with Ian Holloway, the same thing applies there. So your time at Lincoln, you were pretty prolific. You were 1 in 3, so it's just over 1 in 3, 90 appearances, 31 goals. So do you attribute a lot of your success there to Keith Alexander?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he was unbelievable.
Was
he? He was really good. He knew his management skills, and he had a way of playing. And people used to say, "Oh, Lincoln long ball," but the players that we actually had in that team were very, very good players. And yeah, he did have a way of playing with big centre halves who used to send up for goal kicks. But once we got into the opposition's half, he wanted us to play. He wanted us to pass the ball and get it down. And what he said and how he wanted to play was get it away from our goal as quick as possible, get it into their half. But then when we get it in their half, we need to keep the ball and play, and that's what we've done. But everyone just used to see the two big centre halves going up for goal kicks or for throw-ins and getting the ball into their half. But what they didn't see was the players that we had, the good players that we had, the goals we scored, the way we played was really good.
I mean, you've got to mix it up in the low divisions, haven't you? I mean, you've got to be a bit pragmatic in your style of play, because you're not going to get the type of players that can just play tick-a-tack football in that division.
No.
So I suppose you've got to be, mix it up a bit.
Yeah, but you had myself. You had a player called Simon Yeo who was very, very direct and quick, knew where the goal was, but he was very clever. And we had a centre mid called Peter Gain he was a young kid who'd been through the Tottenham ranks, and the skill and the technique he had was unbelievable. And he wasn't suited to long and direct. I wasn't suited to long and direct, but the players around us were. And he helped us flourish. And then, he got to 4 playoff finals on the run. And unfortunately, we just couldn't get over that line to get promoted. But not many teams will do that, and they might have 1 or 2, but then they sort of either they've gone up, or if they've not, they filtered down. But he kept them going, and especially on the budget that Lincoln had at that time and the troubles around the club at the time, were magnificent achievement.
So it's lucky you joined the most successful playoff-winning team in England, then, isn't it? After that,
yeah. Well, let's say I think they got beat. Lincoln got beat. What was it? 4 years on the run, and then I went to Huddersfield. I
said that wrong, actually. I was talking about Blackpool.
You missed Huddersfield.
I've just seen on your wiki that you got beat in the 2005 playoff final to Southend.
That was at the time, and I remember the day after. Obviously, Keith, we all had our meetings. My contract was up, and I thought nailed on for another contract, and he actually released me.
What?
He said, I'm not going to offer you a contract. And I was like, you're pulling me leg here, what's happening? He's like, no. He said, listen. He said, if I offer you a contract now, he said, I know you'll sign it. He said, but I think you'll go on to bigger and better things. He said, obviously, you must know already. And I didn't have a clue, didn't have one iota. All the fans come out and say, at Lincoln have always said, oh, you were tapped up and stuff, but honestly, at that time, I was gobsmacked. I didn't have a clue what was going to happen. I remember going home to my wife, and was like, he's released me. She's like, what? So he's not offering me a contract. And rang him back up, you sure you're going to go? She's like, yeah, just bear with it. And then it was only about 3 hours later that I had a phone call from the agent saying, right, Peter Jackson and Gary Johnson, both obviously at the game on Saturday doing the commentary, and both of them have offered you a contract and want to sign you. So you can either stay up north and go to Huddersfield, or you can go down south and go to Yeovil. He said they're both exactly the same contracts, both offering the same year term and everything. But
it's a no-brainer, really.
Got to make the decision, and obviously, me and my wife, we've been down to London, so we've been down south. We moved to Lincoln, and we were like, we want to be a bit closer to home, and Huddersfield's only an hour from 45 minutes to an hour from Liverpool, and it was a no-brainer. We went, seen the stadium, met Peter Jackson, and the one, obviously, it's funny how things happen, because I'd known Peter beforehand, because when I was at Northwich, Keith Alexander introduced me to Peter Jackson to be my agent. So he was my agent when he wasn't in the job at Huddersfield. He got me moved to Leighton Orient and stuff, and he tried to sign me a few times at Huddersfield from Lincoln, but Lincoln refused. I was sort of happy playing. That this was in the first year. I think I'd only been at Lincoln for 6 months, and he tried to buy me, but I said no, because I was happy to be playing again. I wanted to stay with Keith, and it was just funny that I knew him. So again, managers have a little bit of belief in you. Was a big thing for me. So obviously went to Huddersfield, had a great 2 years there. The only thing was, obviously, they had Pavel Abbott, who'd scored 30 goals the year before, and Andy Booth, who was Mr. Huddersfield ahead of me. So
I remember him.
I was battling to sort of get games and stuff, and I think it was after about 4 or 5, well, probably about 10 games. We had Tranmere away, and we were getting beat 2-0 after about 20 minutes. And our right midfielder has got injured, and he's called me over and he's like, listen, you're going to go on right mid. He said, but I want you to play like a striker. I was like, right, okay.
What does that mean? Go on, right mid and play like a striker.
Yeah, we're 2-0 down. We need goals. We need more attacking players on the pitch. So, just get up and down. But when the ball's on the opposite side, played as a sort of a right winger. Like, they didn't really have right wingers back then. It was right mid and striker. But okay, went on, scored 2 goals. We drew 2-2, and then from then I played right mid or left mid virtually every game till the end of the season. And I think I ended up finishing top scorer in that first year from midfield. I think I scored 15 goals in the end.
And you missed quite a lot of the season as well. October and November.
Yeah.
It's quite a good achievement then, really. If you were back.
Yeah. I was on the bench, but I always used to come on and score important goals. And all around Christmas time, I think it was about 2 or 3 games on the run where I've come on and scored. So it was a good time. I was enjoying my football. It was only sort of after the November time that I really kicked on during that first season, and really was enjoying my football. Was enjoying being close to home. We did live in Huddersfield, but it was a strange one, because at that time they were called the young guns, because they had, I think it was about 5 or 6 players all come through the youth team at the same time, all playing in the first team. I was a little bit older. I think I was about 24, 25, obviously settled down, married and stuff. But it was good, because obviously you had the banter and good young lads, and it was a good time in my life. But it was only when Peter Jackson left and Andy Ritchie's come in, and basically at that time he was coming in, wanted to sort of freshen things up, wanted to bring some money into the club, and I was one of the only saleable assets that we had. And at the end of that season, I remember he told me, he was like, I know you've got another two years left on your contract, but I want to bring my own players in. Being told I need to raise some funds. So, if we can get some offers in for you, then we're willing to let you go. And I was devastated a little bit, because I was really enjoying my football. Had a really good end to the season, and thought things were going to kick on from there. But I didn't expect, obviously, what had happened to move up again into the Championship every 2 years. So from Lincoln to Huddersfield for 2 years, move up, Huddersfield 2 years to Blackpool, and moved up. And it was funny, because obviously Blackpool had took Chris Brandon on loan towards the end of the season of the 2007 year, and what I was told later, that they wanted to sign me, but Huddersfield wouldn't let me go at that time, and they ended up taking Chris Brandon. And it was only in the summer when, after I spoke to Andy Ritchie, he wanted to sell me, that the news of Blackpool being interested was through me best mate's stepdad. He was at Liverpool under, I think he was on the 16s coach at the time, and he was doing his coaching as I think it was his B licence or A licence at the time. But he was actually on the same course as Simon Grayson, and got speaking to him. Simon was telling him how highly he rated me and wanted to sign me a few months before. 2 days after that, I was at my best mate's wedding and speaking to my stepdad, and he was like, "Oh, I was speaking to someone about you the other day." I was like, "Oh," I said, "hopefully a manager, because obviously I've been told I can leave." He was like, "It was." I was like, "What?" He said, "Yeah, the Blackpool manager, Simon Grayson." He said he's interested. He likes you as a player. I was like, "Right, well, when are you back with him?" He said, "Tomorrow." I was like, "Right, well, just tell him I've been told I can leave." So I remember about 9:30 that morning, obviously being at a wedding, we'd had a few hungover, my phone's going, and like, "Who's this?" And it was me mate stepdad. He's like, "Right here, I've got Simon on the phone here." I was like,
what were you half cut from that?
Yeah. He was like, so basically spoke to Simon. He just asked would I be interested in coming to Blackpool and stuff, and I said, "Listen, I'll jump at a chance, back closer to home."
Yeah, you're getting progressively nearer to the northwest.
Yeah,
you're getting back to the northwest now, progressively nearer to Liverpool.
A step up,
stepping up the divisions and getting nearer to home.
Yeah, positions. Yeah. So he was like, "Right, okay." He said, "Leave it with me." And I remember the next day, I had a golf day with Andy Ritchie. It was the Huddersfield Town golf day, and for some reason, I don't know why, but they drawn me with Andy Ritchie. So there was me, Andy Ritchie, and two fans. So
Huddersfield fans.
I remember Huddersfield fans. Yeah, I remember having to sit in a buggy, and when we had the first meeting, I told them I didn't want to leave and stuff and all that, and I was happy to stay at Huddersfield. And then we were sat in a buggy, and what do I say? So anyway, he's come back to me. He's like, "Listen, have you thought about what we spoke about?" And I just laid it on. I was like, "Well, yeah, I've been thinking about it and stuff, and I can get a club who's a bit closer to home. Me and my wife were talking about having kids and stuff, and if I can get a bit closer to home, then I'd speak to someone." He was like, "Right, okay." So anyway, about half an hour later, he's disappeared. Phone rang, disappeared, and then he's come back and he was like, "Right, might have something for you." I was like, "Right." He said, "That was the Blackpool manager. They just put an offer in." I was like, "Oh, right, okay." He said, "Yeah." He said, "It's not what we want." He said, "They're going to have to double the price of what we've offered. But would you be interested in that?" I was like, "Well, yeah, it's a championship club. I didn't think I'd get a championship club, and it's close to home." So sort of played a bit dumb that I didn't know exactly what had been said or anything.
All right.
And then there's about half an hour later. I don't think Simon knew that I was actually on the golf day with Andy Ritchie. About half an hour later, my phone rang, and it was Simon, and he was like, "Yeah, I put an offer in, but they're asking for this. You're gonna have to speak to the manager and tell him we can't get to that. We can get up a little bit more and stuff, but try and force it through." So I was like, "Right, okay." Well, I actually I'm on a golf day with him. I'm just trying to take my shot now. I'll be back in the buggy with him in a minute. He's like, "Right, okay, just see what you can do." Right, okay. So he sat down and sat with him. We were talking. And he was like, I was like, "Well, what have they offered?" He said, "Oh, well, they've offered this. We want them to double it." I said, "Listen, you want to sell me. I want to go. It's a club that I've said, I want to move to the higher club if possible, close to home." I said, "It's ticking every box for me. So you can't stand in my way. You've told me you want me to go. What are you playing at?" And he's like, "Oh, well, we'll ask him for a little bit more and stuff." But I knew Blackpool would have gone a tiny bit more than what he did ask in the end. But it was all sorted, all agreed. So the next day down to Blackpool, and that was the first. Well, I didn't even get to meet Carl Oyston because he never turned up. I remember met him at the Tickle Trout at Junction 31.
Yeah.
he was apparently fishing on somewhere along there, and Simon had arranged for him to be at the Tickle Trout at 2:00.
He just didn't turn up.
So we've got Simon's turned up. He's like, right, trying to ring him, no answer. Me and my agent was sat there, what's going on here? Simon was like, listen, I'm sorry. He said, this is the offer. This is all. He's not going to go any higher. He said, he's rang, he spoke to your chairman at Blackpool. He knows exactly what you're on. He's offered you a little bit more just to step up. But he said, it's not much, £50 more on everything than what you were on. He said, his idea is that you're coming to us to play championship football. So we're giving you the chance to play championship football. So, that's your offer, take it or leave it. And I remember the first thing, the agent just looked at each other and we were like, right, we'll leave it then. Okay. And I think Simon was a bit taken aback. And he was like, right, hold on, I need to speak to him, and couldn't get hold of him. So in the end, we ended up walking out and heading home. And the next day I turned up to Huddersfield pre-season training I think that was the Sunday. On the Monday, turned up to training, and Andy Ritchie and all the coaches were like, what are you doing here? So nothing's been agreed yet. So, at the end of the day, I'm still training, still pre-season. I want to come in. They wouldn't let me join in any of the football or anything.
Time for a quick break in proceedings to say, if you're enjoying this content and want to say thanks for the pods, please consider joining our Patreon supporter programme. Starting from the price of a pint per month, Patreon allows you to contribute towards our production costs, gear upgrades, and our drinks tab at the Dog. Your support will ultimately make the show bigger, better, and I like eating a tin of prunes more regular. You'll also get extra stuff in return, like all the podcasts before general release, backstage access to us and our guests, exclusive Patreon-only shows, and other random bits and pieces. So head on over to patreon.com/seasidespod to find out more and hopefully sign up.
I could do running, but they wouldn't let me join in the football because they want me to get injured. And I remember later on that afternoon, Simon rang me up and he was like, listen, I've spoken to him, I've managed to get you a little bit more this and this. But what he said is, if you do well, you play so many games, he'll up your wager and things like that, and put all little incentives in. And it was one of them moments when I just thought, you know what?
Roll the dice.
It's exactly what I've been asking for, a club closer to home, higher division. So, let's go for it. Let's go and take it. So when signed, and I think the same day, I think me and Stephen Crane both signed the same day, exactly the same day. And what two signings they turned out to be.
Oh, yeah, Blackpool, exactly. Yeah. How much more did he offer you?
Yeah, it was a little bit more, but yeah, it wasn't anything.
It's not four figures more, is it?
Yeah, no.
A few £100 more.
No. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, a few. Yeah, to be the precise word. Yeah.
So before you joined us, did you have any inklings or apprehensions? Were you aware of the Oystons? Did they have a reputation in footballing circles at the time, or was it not that bad at the time?
No, I had never come across them until obviously he never turned up. That was my first thing of him. Well, your chairman doesn't turn up or whatever. But yeah, didn't obviously put me off in the end. But yeah, it was a bit of a surreal time because obviously he signed myself. I think Stephen Craney the same day, Michael Flynn. But I played him against Blackpool obviously a few times, and the one big thing that just kept getting told was listen, we can get you and Wes. If Wes Houlihan, if the deal comes through to get him signed, we've got him. We know we've got him, but it's not official yet. We can have you two on the wings. We'll do well. We'll be a good force to sort of be reckoned with. We'll be strong. And all through pre-season, I remember me and Wes we clicked. We got on like house on fire in training, in matches. He used to hate putting me and him on the same team in possessions. I remember in one possession game, you had to get there was 3 teams of 8, and you had to get 20 passes to get a point. And me and Wes we got the 20 passes just between me and him, and we just clicked. And he's probably the best. I've always said it. He's the best player I've played with. Wes, unbelievable talent, and what a player.
Right. Well, On my notes,
Has that killed one of your questions?
on my notes for the 2008-2009 season, honestly, my last question is, I want to know how good a player Wes Hoolahan was to play with, because
Well,
he's my he's the sort of player who I'd be more than happy to pay a ticket just to go and watch him. He was that good. I know he ranks up there as my favourite Blackpool player ever. He was a joy to watch.
Yeah, he was unbelievable, and you know, obviously we've had the likes of Charlie Adam, all them players played with. I've Riyad Mahrez, but for me, Wes, he just stood out above everyone. I think it was just his character and his attitude and everything. People used to give him a bit of a tough time, saying that he didn't care or whatever, but in training and matches he used to give 100%. And he did used to enjoy himself, but he was a young lad. But whenever he crossed that white line, he'd give everything. And I think that was the same with quite a few of us at the time that Larry brought in. And then the likes of Holloway took it on to the next level of bringing in the right type of character and sort of buying into what we wanted to do.
So it's something else has just come into my mind. And Carl was half an hour late for Ian Holloway's meeting at the Tickled Trout. I don't know if you know about that. And I think apparently Ollie gave him a bit of a dressing down when he turned up late, looking all scruffy as well, apparently.
Yeah, probably just come off straight from fishing maybe, or something.
Fishing or shooting or something.
Right. Yeah.
You're only a lowly player though, so you're not you're not high up in the food chains to have a meeting with.
Carl,
I
should say that. That was the feeling. That was what he was like.
The chairman generally go to these meetings though with players. Do they?
At that time, it depends on how hands-on they are and stuff. And Carl was quite hands-on at the time. So when I've signed for anyone else, it's not been the chairman; it's been either a chief exec and the manager, or just the manager.
Yeah.
But at that time, Carl was
we only had about 3 staff, didn't we? Yeah.
There wasn't that many staff.
Matt Smith and Carl Oyston, that was pretty much not Matt Smith, Matt Williams, sorry. Right, let's go on to the 07-08 season. Let's start of it. So
my first year at Blackpool.
Yeah, you were signed by Simon Grayson. Obviously, you scored 6 in your first season, 42 appearances. So it was you were an ever present almost. You're playing a lot of football. What are your initial impressions of the club when you joined and before you joined? Obviously, did you get to see the training ground before you actually signed? Were you warned of it?
I seen the pictures of the plans for the new one. I think it's about the 4th new one that they'd had plans drew up for, but didn't see any of the training ground. When I signed, that's probably why they met me at the Tickled Trout.
Were you not pre-warned by anyone?
No, I didn't really know that many players there. I knew Paul Rachubka from Huddersfield, but he was obviously enjoying it. And at that time, we trained at Myerscough College in Preston, so the training facilities weren't too bad. So it was one of them. Turned up to Myerscough, done all my paperwork there, and then obviously was straight into training. And the first day, I just remember obviously me, Stephen Crady, Flinney, but just how real the players were. Keith Southern, Ian Everett, Sean Barker, there was banter, but I think for what they'd done the year before, is they had a great spirit and
you're on the back of the perfect 10, weren't you?
Yeah, you're on the back of that perfect 10 year, and going into it, obviously there was a wave of optimism going up, and me obviously coming into it was a little bit tough at the start because obviously the players they were a tight knit bunch. I remember it was me and Forbes who were the 2 right midfielders, and Forbes, who was very popular within the group, and I was sort of taking his sort of place, and it's sort of whether anyone got put out, you don't know.
You were a lot better than Eddie Forbes.
In football, that was what it was like, someone had taken place, and you'd be like, and it wasn't anything personal or anything, but you always had that little bit of a thing against people in the same position as you. It's just competitive nature, and at that time, I think I struggled the first probably 6 or 7 games at Blackpool. It was only, I think, after I'd scored my first goal, I think that was about the 5th game into it or something, Wolves away, that was when I thought, well, you know what, I do deserve to be here. I want to be part of this group, and no matter what, I've signed for 2 years. I want to be here for 2 years, so I need to make the most of it and get the opportunity and crack on.
Was that Wolves game, that one where we absolutely battered them? We should have been about 5. Yeah. It was boiling hot.
Yeah,
should have been about 5-0, shouldn't it, at half time?
Yeah. Scored my first goal. Great ball by Foxy. David Fox has put me through. Good touch and volleyed it in. And I think we were winning until about the 80th minute, and then for some reason, just last 10 minutes, capsized, and Fred Eastwood scored 2 goals, and we would come off the pitch thinking, how have we lost that? How would we not took 3 points from that game?
So obviously the first game was, I think it was a massive thing. I mean, for me personally, I'd never seen Blackpool play in the top tier. I was brought up supporting Blackpool in the 4th division, 3rd division, and we just kind of just yo-yoed between those 2 divisions. So it was actually the first time Blackpool had been in the Championship, 2nd division, whatever you want to call it, since 1979. It was at the Leicester City at the Walker Stadium, and we beat them 1-0. And it was were you aware of the gravity of the match for Blackpool fans? It was such a big thing for us to be back up there.
Obviously, it was that big thing, but I remember the build-up all into the weeks. Like, obviously, Laddie had been going on about Wes and, how we needed him to play. And
it was a last-minute thing when Wes was announced. Was it announced on the day?
It was announced on the, obviously, it was announced when Wes ran out for the warm-up. No one knew. All the players knew. We knew the night before that it had all been done and being processed that he could play, and he'd done the tribunal with Livingston, yeah. He'd done the tribunal and agreed everything, and he'd signed the day before. He signed the Friday. Obviously, none of the fans knew, and then as we ran out, Wes was running out with us ready to play. So
did you all know how good he was?
Yeah, well, he'd been although he wasn't a Blackpool player, he'd done the whole pre-season with us.
Ah, right, okay.
So he couldn't play in any of the games, but in all the training, and he was there all the pre-season. So obviously I knew of him. Let's say that in the possession games and stuff, if they put me and Wes together, you would struggle to be not on the winning team. So he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But yeah, that game against Leicester, I remember.
Blackpool fans were chanting "Blackpool are back" pretty much all game.
Yeah, and was it their first game in the new ground as well?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it was their first game in the ground as well, and they were expecting our little Blackpool. They were going to come and absolutely hammer us. And I remember, I've had a left foot shot that's been blocked, and it's come back out, and it's come to Keith, and he's rifled it in, but it was right in front of all the Blackpool fans as well in the top corner, and just remember celebrating there and then hanging on, thinking, you know what, we're going to have a good year here. It's going to be. This is easy. This championship. Yeah.
So talking about Wes, and we can't not talk about the game at Deepdale and that penalty. For us to go there, we'd not played them in God knows how long. It must have been 10 years, maybe 10 years. And what a game that was. What a day. And he'd missed a penalty the previous week, hadn't he? And then for him to do what he did, I mean, what a measure of his self-confidence.
Well, the thing I remember, and music then. I remember just when we got the penalty, I've gone up to him and I said to him, I said, think it. Is what I said. You've got to, you're not going to expect it. You missed last week. He's going to expect you to hammer it. But just chip it down the middle. And he's like, nah. I said, why? You're Wes. And he was like, and he just looked at me and just started laughing, and then just turned around, and then he'd done it.
Did you really? Did you really?
Yeah.
You really said that?
Yeah. Honestly, I said, just go on, hit it down the middle. Just chip it down the middle. He's going to dive early. He's going to expect you to hammer it somewhere. Just hit it down the middle and see what you can do. And as you say, he's done it. He's digged it, and what a day. I think that was one of the main things of that year that a lot of the Blackpool fans will take and remember.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever gone as berserk I did at an away game when that went in. It was surrounded by all my mates and my family. It was a
yeah. And I remember we had the whole.
The entire stand.
Whole of that stand. Obviously, he scored in front of all the fans there, and yeah. But no, unbelievable.
Were you aware of how much it meant to us, that game, with the rest of the players? Because obviously, if you're not from Blackpool, you're obviously not aware of how deep it goes, and it was a
at that time I wasn't as much. I knew obviously you could tell it with the feeling with the fans and stuff, but it wasn't for obviously me. I didn't know at that time, but obviously the rivalry was soon bled into me, and they were the games that you'd want to give everything and get the winning.
Yeah. So we finished 19th in that season. We narrowly avoided relegation. What were your thoughts on that season, the club, and how we might fare the following seasons? Do you think it was a decent season, a debut? It was good just to stay up, anyway.
Yeah, I think that was obviously the main thing. Obviously, when speaking to Simon when I first signed, was right. Our main priority is to stay up, is safety. So whether we stay up by goal difference, by a point, our main prerogative is to stay up.
Yeah.
So anything sort of less than that would have been a failure. But I think when we finished that season, I think we knew we did deserve to stay up. We'd done enough and what we needed to do. But if you look in them, probably we only won one of the last probably 10 games that year. So we were quite high up, and probably got into a little bit of a lax attitude towards the last few games, that we thought we were already safe, and
job done.
It wasn't quite as straightforward as we thought, but luckily we'd got enough and we'd stayed up.
Yeah. So moving on to 08-09, we had a better finish, from 16th, despite Simon Grayson leaving to go to Leeds on the 23rd of December, just before Christmas. What did the players think of the timing of that departure, and how much of an influence was Tony Parks in steadying the ship?
Well, listen, Tony Parks and Tom are absolutely vital to everything that Blackpool have done. They were the two people who brought in Charlie Adam and DJ Campbell. At the end of that year, they brought them two in, which gave us a real boost. But that year was a bit surreal. I remember there was a few people looking at some of our players just before, I think was it just before Christmas that he left, or was it around about that time? And he was saying, listen, the grass isn't always greener. I remember, I think it was the morning, the grass isn't always greener, and I'm just getting started with what I want to do here, and I won't be going anywhere. And then 2 hours later, you see them pulling in on Sky Sports News into his new club, but it was probably.
Why would you say that, though? If you'd respect him more if he'd say, look, this is Leeds are my club and they're a bigger club. You kind of can't blame him for going.
Oh, but no, you can't. As you say, Leeds were a massive club.
Yeah.
They'd obviously had a little bit of a bad time from the few years before with what happened, paying all the money out, and from the Premier League going down. But
there's ways of doing things, I suppose. Isn't
there?
Did it disappoint you all?
I think it brought us closer together, because obviously the chairman was like, well, listen, we're going to give it Tony and Tom up to the end of the season. So, you need to get together as a squad, think about what you can achieve and what you want to do, and move on from there. And it's probably one of the main turning points for Blackpool as a club, because obviously Ian Holloway's come in, Charlie Adam, DJ Campbell have come in, 3 big factors in getting us promoted the year after.
So you personally, you've scored 6 goals again. You've scored 42 appearances again. Did you know that?
No, is that the same again?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? 42 and 6. Did you expect to score more goals, given your abilities?
It was a little bit different, because obviously we were a team higher up. When I was at Huddersfield, a lot of the attacking focus was through me, being one of the main players, whereas at Blackpool, obviously we had myself, we had Wes.
You weren't an out-and-out striker, really, were you?
No, at Huddersfield, I was given license to go forward and sort of get in the box more, whereas under Simon, it was like, listen, your defensive works first and then your attacking works second.
Is that right?
So, yeah.
that rings true to what we've seen in his second stint.
That was what he sort of wanted. He wanted me to make sure we were solid. Obviously, I had Sean Barker behind me, so it was me and Reggie were down the right, and he just used to say, you've just got to make sure you're solid in front of him, and be compact, and then whatever else we can do from there,
right.
We go and do. And
right.
it sort of took away a little bit of my attacking intent, sort of thing, and what I could do. But it also helped me gain further on in other ways, because obviously I got obviously the work rate, the defensive side of the game, and it meant when we did move on, it gave me another string to my bow to say, well, I can be a midfielder, I can drop back deep and play as a defensive midfielder, because quite a bit of the year after the Premier League, Ian Holloway used to do it quite a bit. Whenever we needed a goal, he used to sacrifice a centre mid. He used to drop me back into midfield and put another striker on, because he knew I'd still go on and push on and be a bit more creative in midfield than what we might have had at that time. And he also knew that I could do the defensive work, so he wasn't adverse to doing that if we needed goals, and it worked out quite well quite a few times.
So, what would you say is your optimal position, or your most preferred position to play? What would you class yourself as?
It's funny, because obviously it's changed. Everyone says as you get older, you drop back.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, I was an out-and-out striker. When I went to Lincoln, it was a bit different. We played sort of a similar front three as what we did at Blackpool, whereas we had three players who were in a front three who stayed up, but you could go anywhere. So I weren't the central one, I wasn't the right one, I wasn't the left one, but as soon as we didn't have the ball, as long as them three positions were filled, that was our job done. We could go out and attack, do what we wanted, but when we didn't have the ball, as long as your main them three positions are filled, so the two full-backs would come off and there's one in the centre, that was happy days. And at that time, I was an out-and-out attacker. It was only when I sort of went to Huddersfield that I could drop back a little bit more, learn how to play as a midfielder. I even had, I think it was about a 6-stint game as a defensive midfielder in a diamond for Huddersfield. There was myself, I remember Frank Sinclair was behind me, and it was after Peter Jackson had left. They had Andy Ritchie come in at the start, and he wanted to play this diamond, and he was like, you're the only one who's got a bit of a brain who can tell these young players that we actually had a really young team what to do. So I used to just sit there in front of the back four and sort of tell people what to do, but I was one of the main playmakers, used to get it off the back, the centre halves, and go out and play, and I still scored goals from there, and he was made up, but it different, at Blackpool in the Premier League, I was mainly used as a right winger, but the year before, I was mainly the central one. You had DJ and Brett on the wings. The year in the Premier League, it was DJ as the central one, I was on the right or as a number 10. So it's tough to nail down. I think that's probably one of the things that have got me the career I have, because I've been so versatile and playing a lot of different positions.
Yeah, Mr. Versatile.
Yeah.
Right, so let's move on to 09-10. Right, the infamous 09-10 season. So, obviously, Ian Holloway's been appointed as manager. When was the first time you met him, and what were your initial thoughts?
Obviously, all during that pre-season, the off-season, there was all the rumours who's going to get it, and I think every one of them players wanted Tony Parks and Tomo to carry on. They brought in DJ, they brought in Charlie. We finished the season quite strong. And I think some of the names banded around, we were looking at them, we were thinking, you wouldn't want him, you wouldn't want him. We've
Care
heard
to name
he's
names?
a dinosaur. I was just trying to think. Obviously, I think Martin Allen was one of them, Mad Dog, and we were thinking, we've heard he's proper.
Nutcase. I've interviewed him actually on air years ago.
Yeah, he's a manager that he loves the camaraderie and stuff, but you don't want to cross him or anything. And we had quite a few jokers at the time and stuff in the squad. And
try to think back, who was.
Yeah, I was just there was someone else as well, and apparently they were just all about fitness and running, and just didn't want to play football. And we were just like, that's not
like Graham Wesley.
It was someone like that. Yeah, it was someone like Wesley or someone. Bloody hell, we don't want him. And then obviously
he was a bit of a wild card out of the blue, wasn't he, Holloway? He was just came from nowhere.
Yeah, he came from nowhere, got appointed, and I remember the first day pre-season, we've come in and he wrote his meetings were, everyone will know, his meetings were, they could be half an hour, but the majority of them will be 2-3 hours plus. He sat there. You can get in at 9 o'clock, and some days we wouldn't train because he'd spoken that long or whatever, and you'd be like, right, no point training, go on the wall.
Seriously?
But you'd be captivated right throughout it, because just the way he'd say things, he'd start off like one meeting. He'd start off about the Roman Empire and how they used to work as a team with how they marched and won battles, and then from that he'd go on to something else about his wife and then his dog and his chickens and stuff, and then he'd come back and you'd be thinking, and then at the end of it you'd be like, wow, every one of them stories lived into what he wanted at the end. And he'd just have everyone on sort of hooked. You'd be hooked listening to what he had to say. But the first meet we got in, he was going on about Swansea, how he's the year out's done in the world of good. He'd watched so much football, but he loved watching Swansea. He said, but the only thing is, he said, they just pass it for passing's sake. He said, I want to pass it, but then they haven't got the ball to hurt teams, so I want to do this, and then I want to be able to hit that big switch because he'll be running and thinking. So he'd drawn up 2 formations on 2 big boards, and he said, right, wherever in that team you think you can play, put your name down in blue, and in red, he said, if you think you could have a go there, or you'd be willing to play there. So basically, I just thought, well, I remember in blue, I put every striking position, every midfield position, and I even put right back. And then in red, I put centre back. And I just thought, well, listen, the more positions I put in, the more chance you've got to play. So I did. I covered my bases, and
you put goalie as well.
I think it was goalie and left back were the only 2 positions I didn't cover. But I think it was in one of the games. I think I did play everywhere apart from left back and goal. I think it was Crystal Palace away. We won 1-0. DJ scored the penalty and started off up front. And then someone got injured and I had to go right mid. And then I think Evan went off. I think he went off with a cut or something. And I ended up going to centre back.
How did you get on? I wasn't at that game.
No, we hung on. We won 1-0, obviously, didn't we? But done well. And then Evan come back on. And then our right back got injured. So while they were making the sub, I played right back for about 5 minutes. And then when they made the sub, I went centre mid. And then I went left mid. So I'd played everywhere, bar left back and centre back.
Mr. Versatile.
Yeah, it was definitely Mr. Versatile. But first time he spoke to me properly, I remember he pulled me in Ben Burgess. It was sort of about the second or third training session. He pulled me in Ben. He's like, yeah, I said, I watched you just play last year. He said, so basically what I got from watching all you two last year is that you can head a ball.
What?
I was like, what? He said, yeah, he said, all the Simon Grit. He said, all you used to do last year was hit the ball between you two. Whoever it was closest to a challenge, and then the other one would try and get on the end. He said, then that you just build from there. I was like, right, okay. He said, yeah, he said, so I need you to show me what else you can do. He said, I want to see you get the ball down and dribble people. I want to see you stay up. He said, how I want to play, that switch, that will be beneficial for what you were doing last year. He said, but I want to see a lot more. And I remember the first pre-season friendly, we were playing a game and they were on the attack and I was on his side. And I went to run back, obviously, with the Simon Grayson defensive, get back in your shape stuff. And I was gone to start running back and I could hear him shouting, what are you doing? And I turned, stay up here. So stayed on the halfway line. My fullback's bombed on. I think Gillo or someone kicked the ball, caught the ball. They've kicked it to me. I think I've chested it, chipped it over one, megged someone, and then left foot scored. And as I was running back, stood there, he said, see, if you would have ran back, you wouldn't have been there to do that. So you've got to listen to me. And I was like, well, listen, if I don't have to run back, happy days. I'll take that all day. If I don't have to defend, I don't have to defend. And
God, what a contrast between Grayson and Holloway then, based on
well, it was funny with the wingers and with the forwards. You'd have to defend, but he wants you to play a sort of cat and mouse game where you'd half and half go, but you'd only go if it was on your side. So if the ball wasn't on your side, you'd stay up, and only as you seen it coming over to that side would you then get back. Whereas in other times, he'd be like, doesn't matter where the ball is, you get back goal side of your man. Whereas he was like, no, listen, let him go. Only when you think the danger's, then get back goal side. But if the ball's over the other side, what's the point in being back there? He said, we win the ball, we hit you, you're in.
Yeah.
And that was obviously, Charlie Adam. If he had the ball and I was up there, I knew that ball was going to me.
Yeah.
With his vision and how he could ping the ball and his accuracy, he'd put you through on a plate, and it was absolutely perfect signings. And credit to Tony Parks and Tomo for bringing them to the club, but then it's credit for Ian Holloway to battle and Carl Oyston for him to actually sign them on permanence.
Yeah, that kind of leads on to my next question. How big do you think it was that we permanently signed Charlie that season? He was a huge influence, wasn't he, really?
Yeah, well, towards the end of that year, the year before, when Tony and Tomo were in, he galvanised us. He'd come in. He was a young player from Rangers who had some great skills, absolute fantastic player.
Stamped on Richie Mullins on his debut as well.
Yeah, he couldn't have dared himself any more to the Blackpool fans, could he? But it wasn't that. It was his attitude and his character as well. At the time, we needed someone like that, someone who was a little bit lively, a little bit, not saying he was big for his boots, but he was very self-confident.
You need that sometimes, though, don't you?
And you do. There's arrogance that some footballers have, but there's self-confidence, which Charlie had. He wasn't arrogant. He had that self-confidence in being, I am what I am. That's it. And he's come in. The year we went up, absolutely unbelievable. And as you say, to get him signed was obviously a masterstroke. And you look at the team Holloway got us promoted with, the playoff final team. There was only Seamus Coleman who wasn't with us the year before.
Wow. That's right, yeah.
The team that stayed up by 2-3 points, Holloway's gave us a way to play and got us promoted.
So just going back to Charlie for a sec, obviously he was instrumental in getting us promoted, but he was obviously funded by Valery Bellicon and his transfer fund.
Yeah.
I don't think we'd have signed Charlie if we'd have just had the Oystons pulling the strings.
No. Well, as I say, I think that's with Holloway battling. And I think he's made Carl go to Valerie and say, well, the manager wants this player. Will you help me? And, Valerie at that time was, go and do it. He was of the essence that if you think it's going to improve the club, go and do it. Whereas Carl was, is it going to improve the club? Yeah. How much is it going to cost? No. So, that was the two different personalities at the time, higher up.
Did you ever meet Valery? And if so, what did you think of him? Or did he ever meet the players? Or
yeah, whenever he was over in England or at the games, he was always in the changing rooms, coming to the training ground. We went over to Latvia a few times. And
did you stay in his house or anything, or hotels?
No, it was a YMCA we stayed in. I remember it was honestly, it was. I think I'd only been signed a week, and we went over to Latvia, and it was it was like a YMCA. It was a sofa bed. It was a couch that pulled out into a sofa bed. That was your bed. Literally holes in the walls so you could see into the other players' rooms, and it was terrible. But we had a good laugh. Obviously, the players and all the banter and stuff and all that flying about, and we had a good few days there training and. But yeah, he was obviously lording it up wherever he was. But that was the first time I'd ever heard him. Well, he sort of right. If you just get promoted, there's a £5 million pot for you to get promoted to the Premier League. And I think Carl Oyston was looking at him thinking, "That's never going to happen." I think half the players were. But
did he actually say that
2 years later?
Did he actually say that to the players?
Yeah. This Valery Bellicon the first year went 07. He was like, "You get promoted to the Premier League, I will give you £5 million between us." And
did you all kind of laugh it off then, or did you?
Yeah,
take it seriously?
That's never going to happen. That was what we were saying. And,
right. So in the run into the season, as we were chasing the playoffs, and did you all have conversations about this 5 million at the time, or was it just?
I wouldn't say the running. It was sort of towards the after Christmas time, I think it was. So
was it in your contracts? Were you all contracts?
Yeah. It was in the contracts, and we were always just outside the playoffs.
Yeah,
we were always seventh. I don't think we dropped below 10th position, and we were like, oh yeah, what are you going to spend your money? Going to buy this car or that car? Just messing about. What people do. If I win the lottery with this and what I'd do this. We were saying every away trip, or do this, do that, and it was surreal. But as you say, we were never below 10th that season, and I think we just had the belief that if we could hang on and stay close to that top 6, we'd nick it and we'd have a chance.
Yep.
And just looking through that year, the big thing for me that year was I very, very nearly left and started off. We were unbeaten in the first 5 games. Then we drew 4 and we won Coventry. I scored in the 2 games before. It was an international break, and on the Thursday we were in the Tuesday, the Thursday, and then we had like 4 or 5 days off, and then we were back in on the following Tuesday. And it was the Thursday in training. We were just doing little matches and stuff. I remember Baps has slipped as he's gone in to tackle me and gone right over the top of the ball and caught me right on my ankle, and I just felt the worst pain ever. And I was just like, oh, what has happened here? And I think I'd have to go for an X-ray and stuff and all that, and Holloway wasn't there. And I remember him ringing up, what's happened? It was literally the last kick of the game of training. And then I think I was injured for the next 7 games, probably about 2 months out it was. And I come back, obviously 2 months not doing anything, your fitness goes and stuff. And at the time, he brushed Shelby, quite a few players. So against Sheffield United at half time, I think we won 3-0. And then after that, I just wasn't in the squad, wasn't played a few reserve games and stuff. And it was a funny time because we weren't really training that much because the training facilities and that. So for me, trying to get fit, it was hard, doing things, no team training or whatever. I remember it was 1 game. I hadn't started for, it must have been with the injury about 12, 13 games. I hadn't started. So I went in to see him and he was like, listen, you're not going to play. He said, I've brought all these players in. At the moment, we're doing quite well. I think we beat Leeds 5-0 or there was something along them lines. They've done well. You're not going to play. Right, okay. So you can go on loan for a few months, go on loan till January, and we'll see what happens then. So in on the Monday, sorted out a loan, but he said you can't go till after the week after, there was a few players who were on loan into Blackpool. The loans were coming up, and he had to see whether he could extend it. And then the Saturday it was Barnsley at home, and I come on for the last minute. But in that game, we had 4 strikers or attacking players who all got injured. And I was due to go out on loan on the Monday. All 4 players got injured. And after the game, he's like, listen, you can't go. You're going to have to give me a week. I need to bring players in. So I was like, right, okay. So went into training on the Monday. He's pulled me in. He said, listen, you are our only fit striker. He said, we've got Middlesbrough away, who were flying at the time. Got Middlesbrough away tomorrow. He said, we're going to go 4-5-1. You're going to play up front.
You had a blinder at this game.
Well, yeah, it was just how things can change.
Isn't it? Yeah.
As I say, I'd only played 290 minutes in 3 months before that. I think we had Barry Bannon. Yeah, Barry Bannon left wing. I think it was Charlie Keith Forney. But I'm sure he played Brett right wing. I'm sure Brett was there, or there was someone else. But we didn't have any out-and-out strikers who could play how he wanted. And I remember thinking, well, I'll play this game and then go out on loan. And then, as you say, absolute scored 2, tore St Ledger apart.
Put that on my notes. Put that on my notes. Ex-nobber Sean St Ledger on his arm before scoring that goal, yeah.
Yeah, so obviously scored the 2 goals.
And you were back in the frame.
But, well, the thing was, after the game, he was like, you can still go on loan.
What?
He's like, you need to get fit, you need to play. I said, well, I've just shown you, I'll play here. He was like, well, I've got these players coming in on loan on the back of you going. I said, well, that's your choice. Like, this was on the way home from Middlesbrough, I'm thinking. So got off the bus. His boy said, no, he said, I'm going to cancel the loans, stay. You'll be playing, you'll be starting, we've got no fit strikers there, so you'll be starting. And then from then, I think I played every game to the end of the season, sort of thing. There was a little bit sort of beginning of March time, I think, where I had 4 games where I was injured. But other than that, I played, as I say, every game, and it could have been so close that if them players hadn't got injured, I wouldn't have left. Have been probably part of Blackpool. So these little things can
It's like that film Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah, what if? Yeah, it is. It is what if. So I say very, very nearly left the beginning.
God, that's
sort of, at that time, yeah.
See, if you'd have gone, things could have been they would have been totally different. We might have made the Premier League, God, yeah, that's funny. So I've just noted down we had a bit of that rough spell when we went 5 without a win, but we went on a hell of a run towards the end of March. And I think the running sort of started with that 5-0 home demolition of Swansea. And they had the meanest defensive record at the time in the division. I think you scored, Brace from Brett and Owen Burgess. And I was at the game. That was the game when I thought we could.
Well, if you look just before that, yeah. Well, I remember that game, and all through the season, Ian Holloway was like, right, we need to go and press and get in people's faces, and you do that, you get after it and stuff. And I was dropped. I don't know if I had a little injury and then got dropped. And we had Crystal Palace to Jimmy Armfield, the stand opening the game before. I come on a sub. I think we were 2-0 down.
Yeah, we were. That's right.
I remember him just saying, I'm going to change it. He said, I'm going to play. We're going to change the system a little bit. We're going to play 4-2-4. He said, it'll be 4-3-1, 4-2-3-1 or whatever it was. He said, when they've got the ball, I said, I want us to be a 4-2-4, but compact. He said, you front four. He said, just let the defenders and centre mid have it. He said, just let them have it and play. He said, we're not going to go and press them. Just let them have it and play. He said, and they'll just give us the ball back. He said, and use 4, just go and attack. He said, it'll be 4v4, just go and attack. And he went a bit different because normally he'd play Keith Forney and Chaz. But I think he dropped, because in the starting team, he had me, Billy Clark, Brett and Ben starting. And I played as a number 10 when we had the ball. I sort of dropped deeper, and I'm sure it was Chaz and Keith. I don't know if Avoni never played. It was the first time he'd ever changed something. He said, but this is how I'm going to do it. He said, when we get the ball, do exactly what we've done. But when they've got the ball, he said, don't drop. He said, just get into your shape and just let them have it. He said, you'll find you won't know where to go. He said, because they can pass. And as soon as you go and press them, they pass around you. He said, but if you just sort of show them, he said, they end up giving you the ball, and they did. And I think the first goal was a bit of a long one. I think I won the header and Billy Clark shot, Brett's come in and slid in. But after that, all the goals have come from them trying to play through us 4. We've cut it out and gone and broken them and got a few goals. And it just shown, it gave us a little bit of belief that, he's not just some crazy madman who's got a great way of playing. He can change things, and he's got that tactical brain to say, well, yeah, this isn't always working. And after that, we won 4 on the bounce. We had Newcastle away flying. We got beat 4-1, but we were on fire, and we knew that going into them last few games, if we got into the playoffs, we wouldn't fall out of it. It was just, could we get in there?
I mean, and the big game was the away game at Scunthorpe, the 4-2 win. 10 minutes to go, 2-2. We were more than in the game, and Seamus Coleman went on that run, jinked past a few players.
Yeah, Seamus. I remember. I've missed a chance. I think it was just before. I remember Charlie was he was bombing through and didn't know. You know what Charlie was like. If he was on the edge of the box, he weren't passing it. I think it was the only time he's passed it. And I just weren't ready for it, and I just shot straight at the keeper.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh no!
Yeah, I remember slating you from the stands.
But then, literally about 5 minutes later, I think I think quite a few did.
No, I wasn't. I was joking.
Holloway, I set up shaming for his goal, and then Holloway dragged me off. But no, the one of the main games for me was Peterborough away.
Yeah, that's on my.
Away.
Yeah.
That was a massive,
1-0, but we battered them though, didn't we?
1-0, we battered them, but we knew. I'm sure Swansea had a very, very tough game. I think they were away to.
Was it Bristol City? Right?
Someone, I can't remember whether it was Leicester or someone or Newcastle or something. And we knew that if we won and they got beat, we went above them.
Yeah, we did.
And there was a lot of the pressure. That was probably the first time I'd felt any pressure. But we got the goal. DJ scored.
It's quite early, wasn't it? It's quite early in the game.
It was earlier, Sean, and
we just couldn't get that second goal, could we?
Yeah, time went on and on and on, and as you say, we couldn't get that second goal, and Swansea got beat, and we were in the playoffs. And after that, I think that was when we knew, this is going to be special. This is going to be our time. Just
going back to the Peterborough game, so I went to that game, and it's probably one of the most surreal experiences I've known as being a Blackpool supporter, in that all the fans stayed behind for like half an hour, non-stop chanting like Holloway's Tangerine Army. I mean, do you remember that? Do you remember you came out for like an encore almost?
Yeah, we came out for the one down, and obviously all the fans were still there. Yeah, all the fans were still there. And
what did you all think of that?
It was unbelievable. The fans that year, I think they bought into, and I think they knew the players had bought into being with the fans. The camaraderie we had from players with the fans and the fans with the players was unbelievable that year. And obviously, I think because of we were flying high, we were playing well, but I think the fans knew that the group of lads that we had was a special group as well.
Yeah,
we achieved something obviously magnificent, but the fans that year were unbelievable.
Yeah, it was a kind of a unique bond, I think. Right, so let's move on to the Bristol City game at home. We had to win to guarantee our playoff spot, and again before the game, it puts hairs on the back of my neck. The atmosphere before the game. Relentless chant of Holloway's Tangerine Army. Could that be heard from the dressing room? And what was the atmosphere in the dressing room before that game?
Yeah, well, it wasn't just you could hear it from the when you arrived at the ground. The fans were there. The parking your car just coming into the ground. The fans were all there chanting everyone's names. You knew it was going to be a special day. You knew, this was a big thing. This was not just for the fans, but for the players as well.
Yeah.
We wanted to get into that playoff final or the playoffs.
Yeah. Sort
of thing. How big an achievement that would have been for Blackpool Football Club, for us as a team, and I think we went 1-0 down as well, didn't we?
We did. Nicky Maynard, he scored a worldie.
Yeah. They went 1-0 down, and I remember Brett equalising the header from a cross, but it
was a very tight game.
That was a game, but we had a few chances and we just couldn't get that goal. But we were getting told Swansea is still drawing, we're still in the playoffs.
The margins were so fine, weren't they? If Swansea had scored that minute.
Oh, yeah. And I remember sort of the last sort of minutes in the Swansea game. There's been a ball played across, and if Lee Trundle would have left the ball, Pratley was clean through.
Yeah.
But Trundle's took a bad touch, and then I think he's handled the ball or something, and he give a free kick. But they had sort of like a 3-on-1, and it was when you look back, you think, wow,
fine margins again.
Yeah, them little things, them little choices. But one of the main things in that year was the Notts Forest home game, the 3-1.
With wee Billy Davis.
Wee Bill. All through playoffs, we were like, right, if we get Leicester in any game, we've got no chance. As long as we don't get Leicester, we've got a chance, because all through that year, probably the year before, Leicester were like a bogey team. They were beating us 3-0 every game. We couldn't get near them. And that year, they were strong. I think they beat us, Leicester. We got beat 2-1 at home and 2-1 away. So we knew they had a little bit of something over us. And I remember Billy Davis was at that game and he made something like 10 changes before the game.
Yeah, that's right.
And his thoughts were that he wanted to finish so he got us in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He wanted
that's right.
to finish. He planned it that for some reason, somehow he'd work it out that we'd end up playing them in the playoff semis and his job was done. Remember, we beat them 3-1 at home, and after the game, he's come off and
he was rubbing his hands together. Do you remember?
Rubbing his hands together, yeah. See who's in the playoffs, you know. This is what I want. This is why I've done it. And, you know, all these things are going to add up and we're going to beat you in the playoffs. Right, okay, yeah. So anyway, all turned out, got them in the playoffs. So first game, we beat them 2-1. And I remember coming off and he's still there in the tunnel, shouting his mouth off, you know. Yous aren't going to score at our place, you know. One goal isn't enough, you know. So there's no point turning up and things like that. And you could see his team thinking, what are you saying? What are you doing?
That's your team talk done for you.
Yeah,
already.
that was it. That was exactly. Ian Holloway, we come in afterwards and Ian Holloway's laughing, saying, do I need to say anything to you on Wednesday or Tuesday or Wednesday? What motivation do you need? And
is that what he said? Yeah.
Yeah, he said, you know, he's there being an arrogant little whatever he said, thinking that
wanker.
You know, we've scored every game this year. Virtually every game this year, we are going to score at their place. So let's go and, you know, absolute take the mick out of them and crack on and get the win and say what a feeling, you know, when we beat them. And after the game, we were all stood there in the tunnel, shaking out, rubbing our hands together. Hey, Billy, hey, have a good holiday and all. Yeah, you've got it. You know, you've got to play the game, haven't you? And,
what did he do?
He weren't happy, you know. But
I mean,
the worst thing was that night. Obviously, I got bloody called in for the drug testers. I was sitting there for about 3 hours, so all the players were sat on the bus, 3 hours waiting for me, and I remember getting on the bus. Most of the lads were steaming, and you know, we'd had the crates on the bus and all that. But the 3 hour wait to the done them in good stead, whereas I couldn't have anything to drink.
Why was it 3 hours? Couldn't you piss or something?
No, as soon as you finished, they get you to drink as much water as possible. So then I'd done my first sample literally after about 10 minutes, but it was too dilute, too watery.
Right.
So I had to wait then. But obviously, when you're dehydrated, you play the full game. You know, it takes a while. So and you had to fill up to a certain level. Right. So yeah, it took a while.
Yeah,
but you know, what a feeling! The celebrations in a changing room and all that, unbelievable.
So you couldn't really properly celebrate with the rest of the lads for 3 hours. So that's a bit of a bummer. But
well, we were celebrating, but a drug tester was sat there watching us. So once they've got you, they can't take their eyes off you. So yeah,
I mean, that game is widely cited as the most memorable match ever witnessed by a lot of Blackpool fans in the modern era. I mean, on our show, we often ask people what's your most memorable game, and a lot of people put that ahead of the Wembley playoff final.
Yeah, I think that was I think just getting to Wembley at that stage was absolute massive for the fans. You know, getting to another playoff final. But as I said before, that night we won, and the next day we all went into training and massages and met up and stuff and all that, because obviously we were in a playoff final. We knew we would go. We didn't know we were playing yet, so we had to go in and we had to say what we wanted, what sort of plans we wanted to do, how we wanted to do it. But all we were like, oh, you know, if we get Leicester, then you know it's going to be tough. But if we get Cardiff, we're promoted. We had that belief that.
Did you really?
Yeah. If Cardiff beat Leicester, we were up. We were in the Premier League, and again, it wasn't arrogance, because
just confidence.
We knew that. Well, not that we knew, but Leicester, we didn't have that confidence. Whereas against Cardiff,
right.
We just had that confidence that we could go on and beat them. We would go on and beat them, and I think you could see that in the game. You know, they scored twice, went ahead twice, but we always didn't. We had that belief. We got ahead. We got back. We got ahead. But when we went ahead, you didn't see the belief that they could get back into it, and I think that was the main difference.
I mean, I went to that game quietly confident, the Cardiff game, the final, Whereas the West Ham game, I had a bad feeling about it. Both my feelings kind of turned out to be true. So, right, we'll wrap it up now, guys, because I want to cover the playoff final in a bit more detail. And it's we've been going on for 2 hours nearly.
That's all right.
So this can conclude part one. We'll do part two either tomorrow or the day after.
No problem.
We've also got a load of fans' questions to ask you.
Yeah.
So that was a fantastic first part of this interview. Time flies, doesn't it, when you're reminiscing? Yeah. So we'll go and have a drink, go and rehydrate.
Yeah, I've done quite a few podcasts, and I think like 4 hours plus. You just get talking and it just goes on, doesn't it? Yeah. But no problem. At the same time tomorrow or Wednesday, that'll be fine. We'll crack on.
Go and rehydrate, have your drug test. Hopefully a pass.
No problem.
Right. All right. Cheers. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll speak later. Cheers, mate. Bye. Hi all, just a few quick messages before you head off. I'd just like to ask, if you haven't already, to please leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. It helps the show grow, gain more exposure. So if you go to seasiderspodcast.co.uk/review, that'll redirect you to the iTunes review site. Helps if I press the unmute button. Right, I hope you all enjoyed that. You just got me now. So if you've got any more questions, thanks a lot everyone. Thanks for coming. I think we've had a record live stream there where it's actually worked for once. I know when Tim, Nick and myself have done a few of these, it's something's always gone wrong, but unbelievably, everything went spot on there. So that was really good. So thanks everyone for Fletch for doing this. It's really good. Sorry, I'm just listening to I'm trying to read the comments while I'm doing this. If Gaz is up for it, I think we should do parts 2 and 3, kind of at 8 o'clock every night between now and then. Now parts 2, I think, was nearly 3 hours, so I have split it into 2 bits. So that's going to take us. So if we do half of part 1 Saturday, the other half Sunday, and then the first half of part 3 Monday, and the second half of part 3 Tuesday. But it's only if you're around, girls, you don't have to do it. But if anyone else, Nick says he's off for a Malbec. I'm off for my second can of Rheinbacher Premium German Pilsner. So same time tomorrow, 8 o'clock, lads and lasses. Hope to see you all there. Thanks for coming. And I'll say Auf Wiedersehen as I'm drinking some German beer. Ooh, I don't like looking at me on these grainy pictures. I look older. All right, see you later.